Yo, what is going on, guys? You got Glop, and we are here for week 5 of the Draft Jam. For those of you not interested in the matchup or team builder section of the video, down in the description, you're going to find a timestamp that will let you jump right into the action. Our opponent for week 5 is Mr. TJP, who is coming off of a very spicy 6-0 from last week. He's got a roster of Gholdengo, Gliscor, Salamence, Walking Wake, Ninetales, Venusaur, Empoleon, Sylveon, Avalugg, and Infernape. Terra captains are going to be the Walking Wake, Venusaur, and Avalugg. Upon first glance, I noticed that Gholdengo is going to be very problematic for our team. It has a relatively easy time spreading status through the move Thunder Wave, is able to pressure our walls in the following turns with moves like Hex, and can become an offensive threat through moves like Nasty Plot. Walking Wake is also going to be an issue for our team. We do have some water resist and special defensive Pokemon, but if those are amplified through things like Photosynthesis, Choice Specs, Terra Water, it becomes very difficult to handle all of those multipliers, so we've got to be mindful of that Pokemon. And finally, these Salamence can be a bit of an issue for our team. It sits at a really nice speed tier, resists both stabs of Keldeo, and can threaten big damage onto our team through moves like Draco Meteor, Flamethrower, or threaten a sweep late game with Dragon Dance. We, of course, have some very strong pieces in the Mr. TJP though. Namely, I think that our Glimmora has an excellent utility matchup. His removal is basically confined to the spin on Avalugg, which we can easily keep in check with our Ceruledge. Speaking of Ceruledge has a great offensive matchup here. There's a grand total of 0 normal types, meaning that our Poltergeists are always going to be hitting for very strong damage. And with Terra Ghost, we can have a stronger Shadow Sneak and Poltergeist into the majority of his team. And finally, I think our Cresselia has a lot of potential here to do a lot of work. It has a very unique type profile, bulk profile I should say, to where we should be able to easily get up Calm Minds versus many members of his team and threaten damage onto them. And we're able to keep ourselves very healthy thanks to his Ninetales Sun boosting the recovery of our Moonlight. Let's go ahead and jump into the team builder. Alright guys, and we are here for the team builder. Our first member this week, of course, will be our Iron Bundle, and this week we are running a Booster Energy speed set. The idea is that we have enough speed to get the jump on Venusaur underneath the sun, and threaten that with a super effective Freeze Dry or Ice Beam if he elects to use his Terrestrialization elsewhere. We have Hydro Pump as our Water Stab, and then we have Taunt as a way to keep Sylveon and the Empoleon low so that we can enable sweeps from our other members. Our next Pokemon is Terra Ghost Ceruledge, and as I mentioned in the matchup center, TJP has no normal type, meaning that our Ghost boosted Poltergeist and Shadow Sneak will be hitting for severe damage. Bitterblade, of course, is a nice complementary stab to keep ourselves healthy, and with heavy duty boots, we can preserve our bulk such that we can set up in the face of Earthquake Gliscor or knock off Infernape, get a weak armor boost, and if we're able to find that Swords Dance, that potentially could be the game. Our next member here is Glimmora. We're running an air balloon set so that we can get entry hazard opportunities in the face of Gliscor. It also allows us to dodge Scorching Sands from Ninetales if it is a more offensive set. Stealth Rock and Spikes are both very strong in this matchup, and we can kind of pick and choose which will be better depending on what Pokemon he elects to bring. Power Gem, of course, very strong stab option, and Earth Power is going to be useful into the Empoleon as well as the Gholdengo. Speaking of Gholdengo, our next member, Cresselia, is tailored to 1v1 pretty much every variant of Gholdengo with the exception of trick sets. We are running a Terra Electric Lumberry set. The idea is that Terra Electric allows us to avoid Thunder Wave from Gholdengo. We can Calm Mind in front of it with enough speed to outpace a modest max speed Gholdengo. And we have Lumberry to cover for Toxic from Gliscor. Thunderbolt and Ice Beam provides great neutral damage into TJP's roster. And Moonlight is an excellent way to keep ourselves healthy over the course of the battle, especially keeping in mind that the sun is going to boost the healing we receive from the move. We do have a decent amount of special attack investment on this Cresselia. What I found in testing is that this allows us to more reliably muscle through Pokemon like Empoleon and Gholdengo and beat them one-on-one. Our next member here is Landorus Therian. We're running a very bulky Assault Vest set. The idea here is that this will allow us to reliably switch into Gholdengo, dodge moves like Thunder Wave, take boosted Shadow Balls, and threaten back accordingly. We have Earthquake for our stab, U-turn to pivot on things like the Salamence and the Gliscor, Stone Edge, of course, to hit the Salamence super effectively. And then I have Facade here as kind of a fringe move on the off chance that we take a Toxic from Gliscor, or if we take a Burn from the Ninetales. We won't be completely useless into his team. I don't imagine it'll come up, but it is just a nice fourth option to have. And finally, we have Assault Vest Keldeo. We're pretty much max special defense on this Pokemon. This is our way to switch in and get information on the Walking Wake and reposition some of our attackers or setup threats to get them in a better position. We have Secret Sword for strong, reliable damage. Icy Wind is a way to deny setup on Salamence. Flip Turn to position our attackers. And then Vacuum Wave, of course, is very useful to pick off faster threats, such as the Walking Wake or the Venusaur if it elects to Terastallize. Let's go ahead now and jump into the thank you section of the video. Finally, I'd like to give a personal thank you to everybody who mocked us this week. Thank you to Agent Flane, Diet Tight, and Who. This week was especially difficult because of me going out on vacation, and all of these wonderful individuals managed to get me mocks within maybe only 48 hours of heads up. So truly, I thank you guys for your support. With all that out of the way, let's jump into the battle. Alright guys, and we are here for the battle versus TJP. Let's lock the fuck in. So, noticing immediately no Venusaur, great news for us. However, there is the Salamence. That does create some issues. I have not mocked against the Salamence at all, so I'm not quite sure what to expect. Originally, I was planning on leading with Glamora, but a lead Salamence could be a little bit problematic. So I might want to reconsider how I approach this game. So I'm going to take a little bit of time, think about it. Let me write down his Pokemon. Gold. And both of them are Poison Terra, the Walking Wake and the Avalugg. Which is honestly fine. I don't mind that. No Water Terra Wake means we have a really easier time walling that. So the only thing I'm scared of is a lead Specs or a lead banded Salamence, because I have not run the Calcs in that situation. That being said, I really don't like the idea of switching my game plan. I've been leading this in mocks, so I think this is exactly how I'm going to do it. So good luck to TJP. Let's see what happens. I'm going to pull up the Calc just to see. I might be okay with losing Glim turn 1. It really just depends. I'm going to try to get some Calcs going, understand. Look at Salamence here, just on the off chance that is the lead. Specs Draco Timid is a roll heavily in his favor. So by default, Outrage is also going to get the kill. So if he's banded or Specs, that could be problematic. Let's see what happens here. It's going to be Walking Wake. Okay. I'm actually alright with this lead because I do have designated lines of plays. Let me just go ahead and take some time and review all the information that I have at my disposal. So, noticing no booster energy. This could be Specs, this could be Boots. There's a lot of things that this could be. He might just elect to go for that Terra turn 1 to get his typing, which would make a lot of sense. Obviously not going to be staying in here. I like the idea of just going out into Keldeo. I think we can respond to whatever he goes for. The only thing that'd be problematic is like a Terra Poison Dragon Dance would be kind of annoying, but I think we have the tools to circumvent that. So let's go ahead and go into Keldeo here. We can potentially get some information on this if he flip turns. We won't get any information, but if he goes for Hydro Steam or Draco Meteor, we'll immediately be able to tell what's going on. It's going to be a Hydro Steam raw, no Terastallization, doing 55 damage to Keldeo. So let's go ahead and check the calc here. That did math hard. 55 damage. So this heavily implies he's Specs. So if I'm him, probably going to be pivoting out into the Salamence, I would think. And if you're in the back Salamence, I don't think you're a choice set. Now I could try to call this and go for a Icy Wind. It's not a horrible play to make. I don't think the Goldengo is too likely. Even if Gold comes in, I don't think I mind that. It's really more so the Ninetales that would be annoying. But that being said, if I Icy Wind the Ninetales, I can obviously outpace it in the subsequent turn and just go for a flip turn. So I'm actually going to go for that Icy Wind. We're going to see what happens here. Northwind is going to switch out. Let's see if maybe it's the Salamence. Cash flow Goldengo. Okay, we'll get some information on the Goldengo right now. Very minimal damage. That to me looks like... Oh, it's lefties. Okay, beautiful. All right. We're getting so much information. So let's go ahead and let's write down Walking Wake is Specs. And the Goldango is Leftovers. So likely going to be some kind of a Thunderwave Nasty Plot set. That should be really good for our Cresselia in the back. We did get the speed drop, which means that flip turn is very free. I don't really think I mind revealing the flip turn because realistically he should know at this point that I'm Assault Vest. So we're good to just go for a flip turn here. And I will just go right out into Landorus. It is our designated switch-in for this Pokemon. We could potentially get some information if he's like offensively invested or what the situation is. Thunderwave, very nice. Okay, I like that position for sure. So I like U-turning here because I think if you stay in, the chance of you double Thunderwaving is not very likely. It's most likely that Gliscor is going to come in. We can use that as an entry point for our Glimmora to finally start getting up the hazards and putting pressure onto his team. And it's nice now that we know the Goldango is not boots, meaning that it will be vulnerable to the spikes once those go up, which will make it easier to wear down over the course of the battle. Goldango is going to be switching out here. And what I'm going to write down is T-Wave Gold. So T-Wave, if you're plot, you're probably not a recovery move, is my thoughts. And if you are recovery move, then you're probably not plot. You might be like Hex, make it rain. So we can go now out into the Glimmora here. And looking at his roster that he's brought, normally I have been valuing spikes a lot more in the mocks that I've played, but that's when I've seen Pokemon like Venusaur in the lineup. I think here I actually value rocks more. And the reason is that it's nice to chip Salamence if it is not running heavy-duty boots. That'll give us information and cue us into what kind of set it could potentially be. So I think I'm actually going to go for my rocks here. We are faster than Gliscor, so we know it's not running max speed. If it was max speed, it would have outsped us. We're going to see a knockoff. Okay, that's perfectly okay with me. Toxic Spikes are going to get set up, and for him right now, he does not have a Poison type currently. He would have to Terastallize one of his Pokemon, which is pretty decent for us. I dislike the idea of staying in. We could Power Gem for some information, but I do think there's still merit to keeping Gliscor. Or sorry, keeping the Glimmora. So I just need to take some time and really consider my options here. I don't think knockoff again would happen, but even if it does, I don't think that's the end of the world. When it comes to terastallizations in this game, I'm not 100% certain if I want to take the Cresselia route or if I'd like to take the Ceruledge route. Something that I still want to kind of just think about as the battle progresses. Although, as it stands, I do lean a little bit more for the Cresselia route. So I think here I like going Cresselia and just going for a Calm Mind. If he Toxics, we have that covered with the Lumberry. Knockoff would be the most annoying play, but it's not the end of the world, I don't think. So we know that Gliscor is knockoff, so let's write that down. It's going to get a Stealth Rock, should be fine. And we can just go right for that Calm Mind. If Ninetales comes in, we can pivot to Keldeo, we can flip turn out. If Ninetales comes in, it also highly suggests that it might want to go for that Encore, which is something we should be mindful of. So I like going for Calm Mind here. Pretty free. Could have made a consideration there to Ice Beam, but I don't think it's the end of the world. Also, if he Toxics us, that is really ideal, I would say. Going to be a Toxic. I do believe he misses. Very sorry about that, my friend. I am, of course, running the Lumberry, so that would not have mattered in terms of immediate progress, but it does not give him information, and that is quite unfortunate. I do feel bad about that miss. That being said, we know we're faster. We're going to go ahead and lock Ice Beam here if Ninetales comes in. I think we just stay, and we force the Encore and get additional chip on it. That seems pretty reasonable. We are going to get off the +1 Ice Beam, so this should be Gliscor going down. Perfect. Now, ooh, a crit. That could have mattered. If it's max, especially defensive on the Gliscor, there is a chance that that crit matters, I believe. I'm actually going to check that in the calc here. Really, really unfortunate how that's playing out. I feel quite bad. Yeah, a max special defense Gliscor would have been able to live that a majority of the time. So, Avalugg is now going to make its entry point. Most likely going to be the heavy-duty boots. So, I'm assuming the Terra Poison would come out here. I have a couple options. I can obviously try to press the advantage, and I can just go for my Terra Electric. At this point, there is no Thunderbolt resist. And at +1, my Cresselia does have some special attack investment. We actually would do some meaningful damage into the Avalugg. A set that I did see in mocks was Curse Avalugg, and it was a little bit annoying if I didn't manage my resources properly. I do think, of course, there are some mind games when it comes to the Sarah Ledge and finding an entry point with that. If it's max specially defensive, a +1 Thunderbolt from Terra Electric Cresselia is going to do about 40 to 45%, which I don't hate. I don't hate that. I'm trying to think if the Electric Terra helps us more. It does help more versus the Gold, which I want to be really safe against, so I think I will Terra Electric and go for a Thunderbolt right here. We'll get some information on Avalugg if it's physically defensive or specially defensive. Most likely going to be specially defensive. And if he spins, I don't truly hate that, because we will be able to find some other entry points for the Glamora and get up our rocks. We can sack it in front of Glenengo. We can get up rocks in front of a Ninetales that does not have Scorching Sand, so there's a couple opportunities for us. Great damage. Looking like that is going to be a physically defensive Avalugg. Especially defensive would have taken that a lot better. We do have a significant amount of speed on this Cresselia as well. So the nice thing here is that Thunderbolt is a very safe click. There's no downside at all of this play. No point in going for additional Calm Minds because that would allow Ninetales to come in and just go for an Encore, which I don't think is correct, frankly. We'll learn if Glenengo is physically defensive or especially defensive, if that elects to switch in, but of course we do just set up all over that Pokemon. It doesn't have Trick, so it cannot stop our Calm Mind spree, and it always beats a Nasty Plot Glenengo one-on-one. So we are going to see that switch out from the Avalugg. I'm going to make a note here that it is physically defensive, and it also has not Terastallized. Kitsune, the Ninetales, is going to come in. Thunderbolt should do some meaningful damage. I'm estimating about 40%, maybe a little bit more. 50%, that's great. Let's get some information, because I believe that Ninetales, if it was max HP, would have taken it a little bit better. Exactly right. Yeah, I'm looking at the calc here, and it's saying that a max HP Ninetales would be taking approximately 38 to 45. So this tells us that the Ninetales is likely running no bulk. Could be a spec set. You know, if that's the case, I don't have a great switch into that initially. If I trade health on Cresselia, I think that that's an ideal situation, because I still have the Assault Vest Landorus in the back that can deal with the Glenengo long term, and Gliscor is gone. So at this point, Earthquake is pretty free, with the exception of the Salamence. We do still have the booster speed on Iron Bundle as well, so even if Salamence manages to find a Dragon Dance situation, we should be able to keep that Pokemon in check. So I like the idea of just going for the Thunderbolt here. There's no resistances, so pretty free click for us. It's going to be a Baton Pass. Let's go ahead and make a note of that. I'm wondering what he's going to elect to go into here, because nothing really takes it. Yeah, Glenengo is just setup fodder, so I'm not sure I agree with that. If Glenengo gets screens, maybe that's an angle that he might be trying to take, which would make some sense. Looks like it is a max special defensive Glenengo, so I've actually seen this in my mocks, and from my experience, Calm Mind Crest just beats this one-on-one, so I'm totally fine going for another Calm Mind. If he goes back into Ninetales, great play. You've caught me, and potentially you can Encore me, so we'll see if he decides to do that. Gonna be Northwind. I believe that is the Walking Wake. Totally fine situation. Gonna get a Photosynthesis Speed Boost. Good to know. So it is a Timid set, but not max special attack. It's gonna be EV'd beneath the speed threshold. Now, as far as I'm aware, Walking Wake doesn't get any access to moves like Encore. So realistically, let's go ahead and run a calc here and just get an idea of how much damage the Hydro Steam will be doing to us. We are at +2 special defense. Sun is activated. The max the Hydro Steam can do is 28 to 33, so I think we're very much in a comfortable position. I like the idea of just going for a Thunderbolt first. We can go for a Moonlight in the next turn to offset any damage that we take. Yeah, easy eat for the god Cresselia. This battle is going quite well, I must say. So obviously the crit on the Gliscor is definitely unfortunate, but yeah, Pokemon is a game of RNG sometimes, and there are moments where you are simply just not on the good end of it. So we'll go for a Moonlight here. Hydro Steam is going to get clicked again, and the nice thing about the Sun being up for us is that Moonlight is going to send us all the way back to full, which is quite beautiful. Now at this point, we don't want to choke and go for additional Calm Minds, because that gives an entry point for Ninetales to potentially lock us in with the Encore. So our best play at this point is to not risk any further critical hits. Just go for a Thunderbolt, try to identify a KO. Looks like we are going to get that KO here on Walking Wake. I think the only thing that would kill us from where we stand right now is a Banded Outrage from Salamence. that's the only thing that could get us there. So if he does elect to lock into that, we have a guaranteed counterplay lined up because we have the Iron Bundle, which will come in, and it'll be able to go for the Ice Beam, pick off the Salamence, and then from there, Landorus should be able to clean up the game. So we are going to see the Salamence come out right now. As I've said, the only move that kills us is Bandit Outrage. Potentially Life Orb Outrage could get there, but at this point, there's no need to try to heal up again and stall out the battle any further. We should just be trying to take as many KOs as we possibly can, make the best of our pieces in this battle. Temper Floater is going to come out. That should bounce off. I think it's going to do a lot. Yeah, easy eat for Cresselia. And this is the beauty of Terra Cresselia. If you don't have certain sequences covered for, this Pokemon can be very, very devastating because the ability to change its type changes it from a Pokemon that usually has vulnerabilities in its defensive profile into something that can be an absolute headache for some offensive teams to take down. So I think this is a really excellent showcase of Cresselia, and I think this makes up a lot for our Week 1 battle versus Gentleman Thomas, I would say. So Salamet's going to go down. It is now just the Ninetales, Avalugg, and Goldengo that we have left to deal with. Going to be a switch here into the Goldengo. Totally fine with this. We want to stack on top of this first, I believe. If I go for Thunderbolt, let's run our calc. Let's not get too lost in the sauce here. We know pretty much with certainty that this is a max special defensive Goldengo. So Thunderbolt at +2 is going to be doing about 35 to 42. At +3, there's a chance for us to actually 2-hit KO. So I think what I like to do here first is go for another Calm Mind. And then we can heal the next turn and try to get that 2-hit KO roll with the Cresselia. So that's what we're going to do here. If he is Nasty Plot, that is his only way to really keep himself in this game. It's going to be Hex, which tells me that my good friend Mr. TJP is most likely cooked. So again, there's this idea in my head where I could Moonlight here if he goes into Ninetales. That is his only out. Knowing that Hex crit likely doesn't KO, I think I like Thunderbolting first. That's guaranteed damage on Goldengo, meaning that in an endgame situation, once the sun is expired, that Iron Bundle should be able to just clean up the game. So with all that in mind, I think I like Thunderbolting first, and then we can go for a Moonlight. And if he goes to Ninetales, I mean, excellent play, but I think at this point, the Cerulege probably has him wiped down, I would say. Hex is going to come out again. Not an issue, not a problem. And we can just go for that Moonlight now that we have gotten significant damage on Goldengo. If he elects to recover, that's fine, because that means you didn't pull that switch to Ninetales, which means you pretty much don't have a chance at winning this game. So if he stays in here, that should be a win for us. Yeah, I think this is a win for us. Because even if you recover, I can just keep spamming Thunderbolt, and there's no downside at all for me. So Hex here going to be doing negligible damage, and again, no reason to get fancy, no reason to continue boosting up or risking critical hits. We may as well just push the advantage while we have that game state. So I think at this point, Thunderbolt is going to get the remainder of the KOs. Definitely an unfortunate crit. If Gliscor was specially defensive, I do think that not only the crit, but also the toxicness was pretty unfortunate for Mr. TJP, so I do feel bad about that. Obviously, after the battle, we'll be able to discuss and figure out how that logistically would have played out. But I do think there are worlds where the Gliscor has physically defensive investment, just because of the fact that otherwise Cerulege is kind of a menace into his team. So I'm more in the fence, in the field, that it's a physically defensive Gliscor, but obviously we'll get some information after the fact. But should be a pretty easy cleanup here. 6 kills for Cresselia. Was not on my bingo card when I sat down here tonight, but you know, I'm feeling pretty good. I've had a very productive day. Got many things done. Got a vacation coming up this weekend, which I'm looking forward to. And I want to thank Mr. TJP again, honestly, for being so flexible with the schedule and playing so early. I think that's a really sportsmanlike and gentlemanly thing to do. So thank you so much for being respectful of my time and for being so flexible in that regard. So good game to Mr. TJP. That is going to be 6 kills for Cresselia. Absolute demon mode. Kaguya putting on an absolute clinic here, and that could not ask for a better game. That is, I mean, textbook game plan execution. I think that we played everything quite well. Just some really unfortunate hacks there for Mr. TJP, but you know, like I said, obviously we'll find out in the end how impactful that would have been. So good game to Mr. TJP. I will see you guys for week 6 of the Draft Jam, and until then, take care.